Hello, my fellow students, and welcome to week 4. I know this lecture is a little bit late. I was trying to post it yesterday. I am here in Indianapolis speaking at the Addressing the Challenges of Poverty conference. It's an AHA process by Ruby Payne Company in regards to really looking at and studying poverty and implementing programs that help move, whether it's generational, situational, or whatever the case may be, those in poverty out of poverty. So we run 16-week sessions back at home in California, and we had an opportunity to attend the conference and present a session, as well as I had an opportunity this morning to present in the opening session. So a lot of wonderful opportunities to meet so many different people all around the world doing wonderful things in understanding with implicit biases and non-bias, I should say, understanding implicit bias and having non-bias in how they help build and motivate those in poverty to find new beginnings and change their current stories into future stories. So that's just sharing a little bit about my week. But however, getting back to my point of uploading this just a little bit late was due to my laptop in my hotel room having connection issues and just working through those and finally getting a MiFi and being able to access the internet as I needed to. So all is well now and back on track, and I hope this lecture finds you well. I wanted to share a verse, and we all know and probably refer to or think of very often throughout our life, but I think just from my experience this week and some of the anxiety and uncertainties with getting on the stage in front of almost 300 people and having to prepare and make sure I had everything in order and balance workload and everything that had to be done. So I share with you Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, and I'm going to read it from the New King James Version, pretty quick and simple to the point. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And this just resonated with me, as simple as it is. I can do all things. So all things. So what I'm here for at this conference and what we're talking about is changing your mental model and your mental mentality of what you believe in and what you can accomplish, and start pushing your limits much further than you ever imagined. Because on the other side, when you make it through whatever it is, the tyranny in the moment, the obstacle, the setback, but when you make it to the other side, such as even obtaining your college degree, that's something that no one can ever take from you. You know that Christ carried you through. God was on your side, and he strengthened what you needed at the right time, in the right moment, in the right place, with the right people to get you where you need to be. And I share that because I believe in that, and not only believe in it for you, but believe in it for me. And those of you that have had my classes before, you've heard me touch on this topic because there's so many challenges that come our way, curveballs, unexpected outcomes. And just when we think we're on track, we realize that things don't play out as they should. And I am a prime example of that with everything that I have on my plate. So I try to give grace where I can and really try to be understanding, but also at the same time have to still be responsible and diligent in what the opportunity that God has given me to make sure as your instructor that I'm holding you accountable to what you have committed to in your learning journey and what you will need to remain successful in your educational and your career as you either move into new positions and or begin to promote in the agencies that or organizations that you're currently working in. So being that this is a Series 400 class, as I have said before, I'm still noticing that there's not time and attention being given to making sure that you have the appropriate grammar, sentence structure, capitalization as you are completing your assignment. So I just remind you to please give that your attention. In any professional setting, in any workforce, you are not able to provide or should not be able to provide incorrect grammar, sentence structure, and not appropriate capitalization. So remember, what we begin to practice now becomes great habits that will pay off in the future. So just know that I am holding you accountable with love and support, and I will always be your cheerleader, but for you to be successful, we have to make sure that we are setting those standards that will help us in our future. Remember, this is our current story, and we're looking to have a greater future story. And so those are some disciplines and practices that have to be in place to prepare for those opportunities. So with all that said, I'm going to jump into what you need to know for this week. We are in week 4. We are moving halfway through the term. And that extra noise you heard was me clapping for you because I'm so proud of each and every one of you as you continue to push through. I know there is a lot of reading, but it is a lot of good information, although it's difficult, I'm sure, in some instances to read through, just really informational in regards to the statistics and the data that is shared, and really eye-opening, especially for week 4, as we really emphasize an overview of violence in special populations. We've talked about it with children, we've talked about it in marriages, and other entities, sexual abuse, and now it's looking at it from college students and the LGBT community. And it happens more often than we think, and it is often something that appears to be innocent and then turns into a much more violent circumstance. And so, again, the readings for this week are very informative. Areas that may give you insight to some personal experiences, as well as being able to better understand those that you interact with, whether in your job and or in your educational experience. And so the various activities that are planned for this week's learning, they're designed to help you analyze historical and cultural factors related to family violence. And so it just shares with you what those learning goals are, number 2, as well as number 3, as you also examine your own experience and faith belief through the lens of family violence. So I'm asking that you complete the readings, which are chapters 7 and 8. If you happen to look at the learning activity for week 4 prior to today, it probably showed read chapter 7 and 6. However, the title of the chapters were correct. That was an oversight that was caught and has been corrected. So the reading I want to reaffirm is for chapter 7, maltreatment in college student relationships, as well as chapter 8, maltreatment in lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex relationships. And so please make sure you are reading both of those chapters. You will need this information as you begin to and should be beginning to think about your critical assignment. So remember, don't allow too much time, especially this week. Your load is a little bit lighter because you only have the discussion board questions to answer and your chapter readings as well as your articles. You have 2 articles to read, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But make use of this time this week to begin to research and look into what you need for your critical assignment. The sooner you start preparing for it, the better off you'll be in the end, because remember, it's due by day 5 of week 8. And so not your normal Sunday at midnight. So just preparing you for that, that's coming in really less than 4 weeks, because you have to have it in before that 4th week. So be sure that you're allocating time. Time management becomes very important as we get closer to the end of this course. So with that said, I will touch on the articles first, and then we will look at your discussion board. So for your article for this week, it's important to allow some time. This has about 13 pages, not counting the references, but it speaks of child abuse and the experience of violence in college dating relationships, examining the moderating effect of gender and race. And so I'm not sure if I've shared with you previously, or if you've had me in other classes, if you have heard this from me before. So if you have, I apologize for the duplication, but I think it's beneficial for all of you that have not heard it. So just a tip for reading, especially articles such as this, with 15 pages. There's a lot of information here, and you want to make sure that you're capturing the most important aspects of the article. So a few tips in how to approach reading the article. How I like to do, or how I like to approach my reading is, first and foremost, you always start with your abstract. So here is your abstract. It's going to tell you everything you need to know about why this article was written. So it just gives you a quick overview of what the article is about. Thereafter, you have your literature review part. That is really important, but I don't go there just yet. I want to know a little bit more, because I want to get the highlights of what is the outcome. So I better know what I'm looking for as I'm reading through the actual article. So you would be surprised to hear, but I then jump to the conclusion. But as I'm moving to the conclusion, I'm going to slow this up a little bit. Sorry for that. I just kind of got used to how I would scroll. As I'm scrolling to the conclusion, I'm looking at the titles of each of the sections to become more familiarized with what is going to be covered in this article. So as I do that, then I can see and obtain a little bit more information. But what I'm looking for is truly the conclusion. And I know that sounds surprising, that instructor or professor would be saying, begin with the abstract, go to the conclusion. But that does not cover everything that you need to know. Again, that is just gaining a little bit of insight to help you better understand what you are looking for and what you are hoping to learn from reading of this article. So as you can see, here is the conclusion and implications. I would come here and I would start reading through this, because it's going to tell me what the overall outcome of what was addressed, findings, recommendations, suggestions, whatever the case may be. So now I have an idea, right? Then I go back to the beginning, and forgive me, I'm going to scroll a little quickly just to kind of get back, but I'm going to go back to the beginning, and then I'll start reading through the literature review, and then I go on from there. So then I don't have to stop on every single word, because now I have a broad overview of what I'm trying to get out of the article, and I can highlight those areas such as statistics or like I said, recommendations, findings, comparisons, contradictions, all those things that are going to stand out within the article. That allows me the opportunity to catch those things. So with that said, I leave you with the time to read through this, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory with the information that's in it. So not as though I need to kind of drill down